time, and it looks as though Xenix just didn't have his eyes in the right position at that point.
So, I mean, going forward, our second game is going to be a TVZ. What do you see out of that? Actually, let's go back on that a second. I forgot that we've got some. We usually try and reach out to teams to find out some info about them.
Mm-hmm.
We heard back from Team Orbit. They're apparently a fairly recently formed team. The team captain didn't have a whole lot of specific information. We also did hear back from Pulse Gaming, and they seem to be a pretty well-established team. Have quite the number of followers on Twitter, and quite a lot of players on the roster. And their captain did get back to us with some bios on the players. So if you have that, Nick, I'd love to hear.
Well, actually, Mumming is one of the players that we did not receive a bio on. So we do not have a lot of information on him. However, the other players that we did get from them we will be seeing later on in the series, and they are some pretty accomplished players, so should be seeing some interesting play.
You will also want to hang out after the cast is over, because we will be having one of the team captains join us to talk about the matches and their team, how things went for them, and their decision making as the match progressed. So that'll be interesting as well. I think we're ready to head into Game 2 if you're ready.
I sure am.
All right, let's head right in. This game is going to be a TVZ, and in the bottom left corner, we've got our Zerg player. His name is Adrenaline from Team Orbit.
And in the top right, our winner of Game 1, putting Team Pulse up 1-0, it is Mumming.
Look at those SCVs, mine those minerals.
Wingnut, do we have the score overlay so that we can...
Yes, we do. I will get that up there. If I can remember the hotkeys here. There we go. There we go. Got it. One for Pulse.
All right.
Unfortunately, the overlay doesn't keep it up between games, so every game you have to go through this insane amount of different hotkeys to bring it back up and set the score correctly. So it looks like we got a TVZ. In the TVZs we've seen so far in this tournament, in this league overall, it seems like we've seen just that mass swarm style, the mass lings, mass banelings into roaches and hydras has been a really popular style. So, I mean, is that your feeling as well?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're seeing a lot of macroing. We're seeing a lot of, just kind of throwing swaths of units at the opponent, trying to do damage at the front, trying to break in and do some economic damage, and really not paying a lot of attention to making efficient trades. Just trying to macro better and have a better economy than your opponent so you can afford to make those inefficient trades.
It looks like our Terran player Mumming is going to be going with the gas first, putting a barracks down at his natural expansion. It's not really in a position to wall anything, so I'm not sure exactly what he's thinking here. Not in a position to do any proxy to get a Reaper there faster, so we'll see what he does with this when it finishes. I think he's going to make a Marine right away and an orbital command as the Overlord comes in to scout it.
A very interesting placement for a barracks. I'm sure there's a reason. I couldn't tell you what it is.
It's got to be a reason.
Even if it's a bad one.
Our Zerg Blade has put down his expansion. That was a hatch first, I believe. The spawning pool followed it almost immediately.
And it looks like it was potentially to try and pick off that Overlord to get us positioning of where that's going to be going and get that Marine down there faster. But we've got some really good pathing for that Overlord, trying to stay out of vision of that Marine, keep the HP high. And now we have a second Marine coming out trying to sandwich it in there. And he's lifting it up to check it out, so he is going to be able to kill this.
It's a nice play to use that barracks to get some vision to take that Overlord out early. He's walking it right up that cliff to try and get away from those Marines, but I don't think he's going to make it.
Oh my goodness. 15 HP
just
remaining.
Barely.
That would have been a huge detriment to Adrenaline's play, too, if he had lost that.
Not only that, but he lost that production time on his barracks, too. Looks like the factory's going to be finishing up bringing the barracks home to put a reactor on it. Likely going to switch that with the... Well, I would think normally he'd switch with the factory, but the factory's actually going to be finished before that barracks gets back, so that's likely not the case. Expansion's up and cooking for Zerg Buddy. Queen pops out, speed going down, so looks like we're going to see some lings here early. I'm guessing that he's going to go with those lings because he saw a bunch of holes in the front, but looks like Mumming has sealed everything up nicely.
Yep, that bringing that barracks back to complete that wall and put that reactor down.
One Hellion popping out and another is queued up. Good play, knowing that those Lings are coming. Of course, it's purely a blind guess at this point, as he hasn't even gotten a scout at all in Adrenaline's base. He doesn't even know that there's a hatch there. It's a big assumption to assume that there's a main base in your opponent's main. Second barracks finishes up. Looks like they're switching a reactor on that factory for a brand fresh new tech lab on the barracks. That's likely going to be... Oh no, the supply depot's down. Those are going to not be able to do a whole lot because those Hellions are right there. But it is going to...
It is going to delay that command center by a matter of seconds.
It did give Adrenaline a bit of a peek into the inner workings of Mumming's base. He saw that there was a tech lab going down on the factory and that there was a reactor on the factory, so he's going to know that there's some Hellions coming out. Looks like speed is now done for Zerg friend.
And Baneling Nest is just now popping.
Those Lings are walking around waiting for some friends to join up with them. Terran has a pretty wide open expand here. I mean, if those speedlings get in high numbers, they could just waltz right past and surround these Hellions pretty quick if Mumming doesn't have some pretty good reaction time.
There are a large number of Hellions on the field, though, and now he's taking his 6 and moving out with them.
Mumming's under a bit of a supply block at the moment. He's got units queued up in all his buildings, but unable to produce while those supply depots finish up.
As those 6 Hellions go, chasing the Lings on the bottom half of the map, the top half, the more Lings coming in to take care of some of those Marines and try and do some damage. They're able to clean up a lot of those Marines and keep many of them alive, so these SCVs are going to be taking some damage.
That's going to delay that command center, that's for sure, because that SCV was taken out. Those Hellions are a long ways away.
And they're coming back home. He was able to get those out without losing any.
Another big batch of Zerglings coming in from the south, while the small batch at the north turns into Banelings. It's going to likely be just kiting around. Oh, as he gets almost a surround. Yes, he gets a huge surround on those Hellions. All of those Hellions are going to go down. That's a huge play for Adrenaline. That was a lot of Hellions lost. A lot of
It really was. And yet again, that command center is getting delayed. In come the Banelings, but there is a tank up front, so those are going to be taking damage. One goes down. Oh, and they're clumped up. The second one goes down. The Lings are in front of the Banelings. Third one goes down. Lings are taking damage. The Banelings don't know what to do, and they all die.
That was a great hold by Mumming. He didn't forget to leave that supply depot down again this time, but he definitely got his units in order there to deal with that as he brings the medevac out to scout, see what's going on around the front. Lings gathering at the front as that command center is seriously the longest command center production time I've ever seen in my life.
In the meantime, Adrenaline is taking a third base.
Roach Warren coming down as well. Drones in production again, so it looks like he's going to take a break from the Ling pressure for the moment as he thinks he's got enough here. Evo Chamber coming down as well, going to get some upgrades. Layer as well, so we're going to be seeing some tech out of Zerg here now after that really good batch of pressure he put on.
Yeah, he feels like he denied that command center long enough that he can afford to do a little bit of teching.
Looks like Mumming is going for pretty much purely Marine tank at the moment. The barracks was switched back to the wow, the thing that makes 2 reactor. Hello. Word brain fart there for a moment. Mumming now mobilizing his forces a bit to catch these Lings off guard a little bit. Looks like Adrenaline was not paying attention. Got a couple in there that got killed, but he's going to run those away and set up a little bit of a defense at home.
Going to lose an Overlord there. That is going to... Well, it's not going to supply block him, but almost.
Adrenaline does have a good bit of Overlords around the map, so he can tell all those attack paths what's going to be coming at him. Big batch of Banelings being made at the front, as well as a pretty decent-sized batch of Zerglings still, so as Mumming comes up here, he's going to have to deal with that. Hopefully... Not hopefully.
He is going to need those Banelings.
He's going to have some real good tank positioning to deal with those. Nice spread on the Marines, nice spread on tanks. Looks like he's got some Marines in that medevac. Was hoping to possibly drop 1 or 2 on those Banelings, it looked like.
Those tank volleys were able to take out a creep tumor, so he is not going to be able to spread any more creep for the duration of this battle.
A couple roaches coming out to poke at that tank, but those tanks are just going to take them down right away. Lings coming out. Baneling speed underway, as well as melee upgrade 1 for Adrenaline. A lot of Lings in production, 20, and then 4 more Banelings.
He is going to lose both of those Overlords, though. That's going to put him deep in the red.
Well, he got that production out while he could, didn't he?
Sure did.
Mumming behind this is still just making Marines and tanks and a command center. It's going to be an in-base command center. He's likely going to fly that down to a third here. Overlord's still causing Mumming a bit of grief, but he's now taking care of that. Nice.
Mumming does not know about the third base for Adrenaline, and Adrenaline is building up a little bit of an army over there to try and sandwich these units in once he decides that he has enough to take it.
Mumming does have a nice spread on these units here. That could come back to bite him if he runs those lings in and the tank shots end up hitting the Marines as well. If we look at the units tab, Adrenaline does have a lot of lings on the field at 47 and 27 banelings. That is a huge number of banelings.
Just waiting for the right opportunity to move in and do some damage.
Like,
Mumming is playing this real smart, though. He's trying to bait those lings out with a couple of Marines being elevated by those medevacs and letting the tanks do all the work.
Also, with those Marines up on the high ground, it does give him some nice vision up there for those tank shots. Lings coming in.
But Adrenaline's decided to make a move. The banelings are hitting the tanks, and the tanks are going to go down, and everything gets cleaned up there.
Amazing cleanup by Adrenaline. He showed such patience with that engagement. He was just sitting back, building up those forces, and Mumming didn't feel comfortable enough to move in, and Adrenaline came out way on top with that.
Mumming is boosting his medevacs back to the front, trying to get those back to meet up with the rest of his army. In the meanwhile, Adrenaline is moving forward, trying to take out see if there's a third, take it out if he can, and now he's going to run into a wall. A lot of tanks. Those banelings do connect with the SC or the supply depot, but it is not going to be enough to take it down.
Only half.
Lings are forced to retreat.
Yeah, Adrenaline did a nice move out there, but Mumming had been defensing his... He built a base and defensed it, basically, is what I'm trying to say. He built expand. Looks like it's going to be more lings. Infestation Pit coming down for Adrenaline, as well as Melee Upgrade 2. Armor Upgrade 1 for his ground units. Stim and upgrades now coming down for Mr. Mumming. Everybody's just kind of taking a minute to tech. Looks like a fourth base is just now popping for Adrenaline at the remote lower right corner.
And he's taking a fifth base.
Adrenaline's really taking over some map control here. It looks like he would be well served to get some creep spread going to go along with that, however. Mumming now moving his command center out the long way over the top of his natural to the third base on the right. Probably end up taking down these rocks here eventually to stop the ling runarounds. If he doesn't, that's going to be a bit of a problem for him, but he is moving all of his units out into the center to prevent the run-in on the front side. Looks like we got a nice number of people in chat. Thanks for joining us tonight. We do love to hear your feedback, so as the cast is going on, just let us know what you think. Let us know if there's anything that needs some attention, and we'd be happy to take a look at it. More upgrades coming down for Mumming, attack and armor upgrades. Stim is just about to finish. Armory coming down. Looks like it's going to be some upgrades for those tanks, most likely.
If you take a look at those resources, it looks like Adrenaline is really having a hard time mining minerals right now, but not any problems at all mining gas. He doesn't really have a lot of drones on the minerals. If you look across his bases, he's not fully saturated on any of them.
The hive did just pop for Adrenaline, so I'm guessing he's got a plan for that gas. In this situation, you as a Zerg, what would you be using all that gas for?
Well, you know, with the upgrades that he's getting, with the way that he's been playing thus far, it looks like he's going to be going for some Ultralisks, which are going to tear through those Marines and absorb a lot of those tank shots.
Ground armor level 2 coming down, as well as 32 more banelings in production.
In the top, we have a big battle going on. Tanks doing damage to the lings. Banelings are running up. Marines stimming, trying to get away from the banelings. They're lulling behind, taking damage from the tanks. And great micro from Mumming. It cleans all of that up, but more reinforcement lings are coming up. Those are going to get cleaned up as well.
Those lings were largely just thrown away. Mumming did do a small drop at Adrenaline's third while that was going on. Nothing that a few lings couldn't clean up. If we look at the workers lost, it's negligible. However, Mumming has killed a heck of a lot more units, which is reflected by all those Zerglings that have been being killed. But overall, the units lost in this game really isn't a lot, but Zerglings aren't that expensive, and Mumming hasn't lost much except for that first batch of Marines and tanks he had. But I have a feeling it's going to start to get bloody here real soon.
Yeah, we do have an Ultralisk Den going down, and Queens are in production.
Mumming getting ready with a drop down outside of Adrenaline's third base, moving in with those Stim Marines and 2 medevacs. He's going to finish off that hatchery. So that base is now gone. Adrenaline moving in on 2 fronts. Banelings at the 3rd. Lings at the front. Tanks unsieged.
Banelings do break through those SCV or those supply depots, and they're moving into the natural. They're going to get some big kills on those SCVs, and oh, the entire mineral line goes down. Racing into the main, just trying to get whatever kills they can on any economic damage.
Mumming left that supply depot on it down again, which let those Lings in. There was a tank there that probably could have had a chance to take him out, but he was not able to stop that. Caught him with his pants down a bit as all those tanks were unsieged. Now we'll have to see what Mumming can do with these 2 medevacs full of Marines to get back ahead in this game. Drops him, gets surrounded by Lings. He's going to have to pick those back up if he wants to keep any of them, but looks like he's just going to let them do their work, and it's going to be a pretty even trade there, as most of those Lings are going to die. Only 2 of the Marines are going to survive and be lifted back out. So now it is 4 bases to 2 at the moment. But the difference is that Mumming has lost a ton of SCVs, 19 killed to 3, in that natural expansion when all those Banelings came in and just literally exploded the entire joint. Adrenaline is beginning to get some drones down at his 4th base. I'm not sure that Mumming actually knows about that. He's doing a transfer right now.
Nope. He does not. He does not know about that, nor the 5th base.
So Mumming is a bit in the dark. His scouting is a bit lax. Looking at his command centers, he definitely has a bit of energy on both of them, but I'm guessing he needs that for mules right now, so he's probably not going to be scanning much. As 2 medevacs full of Marines lift up and drop out, they're going for that 3rd base again. They don't want that to be around too much longer, but Mumming does scout with another medevac and sees that 4th up there as well. So he is now aware at how far behind he is on the base count.
He is going to try and send some of these Marines in to do some damage, though.
While at the same time, Adrenaline has had 1 Ultralisk pop and 2 more in production.
Chitinous plating is about to finish, and Zerg melee attack at level 3 is going down. In the meantime, Terran is getting weapons level 3 and infantry armor level 2.
Mumming did do a bit of a poke drop at the 4th, but it wasn't too successful for him, but he did get the 3rd. Down and out again as those Ultralisk pop. Mumming is going to be having to really figure out a way to pull this ahead.
If you look at the food count, though, they are very neck and neck. And those Marines do pick up. One is dropping to do some more damage to those SCVs. The other's going to the main, or drones rather, not SCVs.
Mumming doing a really good job of spreading Adrenaline out right now. He's doing multi-pronged drops, and he just doesn't have the units. He's got all of his units in a clump, and he can't really defend these.
Honestly, you know, Adrenaline, what he needs to do right now is not keep his main army running around. He needs to keep some Lings back at base to try and handle those drops, but just send the majority of his army in. And it looks like he's hesitating, trying to clean up these drops, trying to keep his economy going, which is exactly what Mumming wants him to do.
Definitely don't need 5 Ultralisks and 100 Zerglings to clean up 7 Marines.
Not on a normal weekday.
Mumming getting prepared for the big push. He's got all of his tanks sieged up and spread out, except for 1. Marines are there. Attack level 3 is about half done. More Marines, few Marauders now coming out, as well as more tanks. As the
Mumming does hit that 4th and takes it down. There was no cancel, and he's got Marines in the main as well, taking down the macro hatch in the front.
Mumming with great positioning is taking out all of these Zerglings, microing back the Banelings really well. The tanks holding up. The Ultralisks are breaking through. He's going to start running out of Marines. Looks like he's got more reinforcement tanks coming in. Got 1 on the high ground there that's doing some damage, but that 1 on the low ground is just getting sandwiched. Ultralisks are moving into the natural. Lings moving into the main. Mumming is now experiencing the same issue he's been given to Adrenaline. He's got attacks on all fronts, while Mumming is also attempting to take out that 4th base of Adrenaline still. He does also have a drop in the main. That's working on getting that hive down, but 3 Marines are taking a little sandwich break there while everything else is going on.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to focus more of his attention at the front, trying to kill these Ultralisks and keep his base alive, which he is successful at. Small trickles of Lings coming in, but those are all going to get cleared up real easy.
Hey, those 3 Marines finally realize their break time is over. They come in to try and take that hive down. Mumming is starting to regain control in this as he brings his drop down into the natural of Adrenaline, killing off all the drones out. Adrenaline's looking in a really tough spot.
And workers killed has shifted in Mumming's favor. He's killed 35 drones to 22 SCVs killed.
Mumming just has... he's doing the exact thing that Adrenaline needed to be doing a while ago. He's splitting up small clutch groups of forces, but now that he's got 3-2 upgrades, those Marines can really tear through groups of drones and other small buildings like hatcheries really quickly.
Unfortunately, Adrenaline is not getting the cancels off on these bases that he's putting down. That's costing him a lot of minerals that he doesn't have.
Mumming now also setting up a planetary fortress at his 4th base, filling it with mules, so he'll be having a nice resource party there as the income is almost double for Mumming as it is Adrenaline at the moment. He's continuing to just be such a pest to Adrenaline with these drops, moving him, elevating them back and forth between the natural and 4th base.
And that's what's really keeping him in this game and even moving him forward in the game. He already has over double the food of Adrenaline, so unless Adrenaline can pull a rabbit out of his hat, he might be out of this one.
Yeah, it's amazing how that food shift changes as Mumming has been just using his Terran abilities with the medevacs and the drops to keep everything going. Adrenaline does actually come in and try and do a little poke on this 4th base, but those SCVs repair that planetary fortress quite nicely, and he decides time to tap out. Great game indeed.
Absolutely. Mumming looking like he was actually not going to be able to survive some of that onslaught, but he just had some great drops, was really able to cripple the economy of Adrenaline, and was able to hold off the major push that Adrenaline had put together, and was able to secure the victory because Adrenaline was not able to recover from that.
It really seemed like Adrenaline felt not quite as comfortable because he wanted to keep his forces all together. It seemed like he didn't feel comfortable splitting them up to deal with those because he wanted to make those big Ling surround ultra pushes that he did that worked out sort of, but they ended up biting him in the tail because Mumming at that same time, even though he had less at home to defend, he had those clutch groups out while he was totally distracted attacking, taking out all of his infrastructure.
Well, Mumming just really taking advantage of the fact that he was able to get around the map a little bit more, using more actions than Adrenaline, and taking advantage of the vulnerability of the bases to drops. So that's what really secured him the victory in that one.
So Mumming now bringing Pulse eSports up to 2-0 against Team Orbit. It's looking like, you think Mumming would have an all kill in this situation?
He very well could. It's too early to tell. He's only won 2 matches, but he's been looking really strong. So unless